Going to call the meeting to order. Good afternoon, Rotarians.
Hi, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Thank you. You're getting better. Welcome to the first meeting of May of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. Yes, I'm Kevin Kassier, President-elect, not Becky Greenwald-Pettis, who did not make it today. We have a fully packed agenda, so we're trying to get started here a little earlier. We have a tremendous keynote speaker, as you would expect, and we're also going to recognize the 5th Educator of the Year today. So we got a packed agenda. With that, we're gonna pass on the moment of inspiration and go right to the Pledge of Allegiance, 4-way test, and then the greeting of each of us. So please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And is it fun?
Please greet other members.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm excited to be here. Hello. Yes. Good to see you. Hello.
Coach, how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Good to see you. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to recognize the guests with us today. We have 9 guests today. So the way we do this is I will introduce you, I will ask you to stand, and please remain standing, and then we'll recognize everybody all at once. All right? So first, of course, Carter Smith is knocking the ball out of the park, so to speak. So we've got 3 guests from Carter. We've got Ryan Aller from the Foster Group, Mike Peterson of F&G, and Liz Van Arkel of Denton's Davis Brown Law. Guest of Will Brown, we have Lynn Rickey, the president of Vision Bank. We have, as a guest of Susan Junkins, Malik Schruff from John Deere Credit, and hopefully soon to be new member. We also have Sean Muller's wife, Sherry, and we have Todd Wheeler's wife, Joyce, a Waukee Rotarian. And then lastly, we'll see more of these 2 folks from the Des Moines Public Schools, Zach Smith and Jen Stalder. So welcome, everybody. And it's tumbler time, so that helps fund the foundation and helps us do the great things like the Educator of the Year and other investments in the community. So please look to fill those tumblers up. I also want to do a quick heads up that in the next few days, and I've talked a lot about this, so I won't say much, is our survey is going to go out in the next few days. It's going to help us figure out where we're going strategically over the next 3 years and how we do day-to-day things like hold these meetings. So your input is really important. I just took a draft of the survey. It took me less than 20 minutes. So please invest that time to help us make this Rotary Club the best it can be. Now, moving on to the Educator of the Year award. One of our educators was not able to make us last week, and he turns out to be a huge great women's college basketball fan, and 7 years as a season ticket holder, so the timing of this couldn't be better. Let's see here. We have with us Jen Stalder, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the program, Place Academy, right? And who recommended Zach for the award. So, Jen.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you all for having us here today. My name's Jen Stalder, and I work for Des Moines Public Schools. I'm going to give you this much about Place Academy because you probably have never heard of it, and it's part of Des Moines Public Schools. And then I'll give you this much about Zach's impact at Place Academy. So, Place started as a dream probably about 8 years ago. We have students in Des Moines Public Schools who unfortunately don't graduate by age 21 based on circumstances and barriers in their lives. And we have always referred them to DMAC, which is a great partner in our work. However, we know when a student is stalled out in their educational journey at age 15 or 16, they need more support than what they're going to get in an adult education pathway. So the dream was always to open our own adult ed program in partnership with DMAC. So in 2019, we secured funding with United Way to do that, and we opened Place Academy. We were very grateful for that opportunity in the fall of 2019, and then we all know what happened in the spring of 2020, and life changed for all of us. So Place Academy has continued to thrive. Zach has been a part of our dream the whole time. We educate young adults age 21 through 27-ish, and I add the ish because the age keeps creeping up a little bit. It started at 25, 26, but we educate young adults who didn't graduate by age 21, who need to have a high level of academic and social emotional support and able to help them get to that high school education diploma. So Zach joined our team, and the work he does with our young adults is, I'm not a teacher, I'm a social worker, so I'm blown away by the work he does with our students on the academic side. We have students who had a really negative experience in school, and they walk into Place Academy, and they have a teacher who takes them where they're at and looks at where they are academically, does not make them feel bad about the deficits they have with their academics, but actually digs in to the work they had done when they were a student in Des Moines Public Schools and starts from there and takes them along that journey in a way that makes sense to them. He individualizes every class, every curriculum, every lesson, everything he does with those students so they feel successful, they're actually learning, and it applies to their life. And so for me to have Zach be part of that continued dream and all the pivots we've had to do since 2019 has been invaluable. And for our 10 graduates that we have this year, which is a small number, but when you look at their lives, that high school equivalency diploma changes their life for them. And have Zach be part of that dream is a big deal for our young adults in Des Moines, and it will impact our community for years to come. So I am so happy that you are honoring him and his work, because this is such a small little group of young adults we serve that people oftentimes forget. They're the young adults you see standing on the street corner, in line at food pantries, trying to make ends meet the best they can. And Zach comes every week and greets them and educates them and helps them find value in their life. So thank you for helping us honor Zach and the work he does at Place Academy. I appreciate your support of Zach.
All right, would like to first thank the Rotary Club for this honor and recognition. Thank you very much. We would also like to thank Jen for her kind words and support over the 5 years I've worked with her at Place Academy. I also would like to thank the Rotary Club for the support that you give for our students as well. The generous donations that you gave a few weeks ago to many of our Des Moines public students is very much appreciated, and we appreciate all you do to help support education in Des Moines public schools. Sorry, my notes are on my phone. I apologize. So as Jen said, my full-time job is with Des Moines Options, and my part-time is with Des Moines Place Academy, which is not the traditional school setting. The students that we work with are marginalized population within our community, and it's so important that we continue to make sure that we serve everyone within our community, because every student in our community has a right to a free public, high-quality education. So with awards like this and recognition like this, we're able to continue to support these students who need to be supported to be able to continue and move in and move their lives forward with the cards that they were dealt. Place, we make sure that our students are moving forward and getting to new places, and help support them not only with their classes but after they graduate as well. So it's very great work that myself and my colleagues do. So thank you very much for supporting us and for Place Academy, and we greatly appreciate the recognition from Rotary Club. Thank you.
The plaque that I awarded Zach speaks to thanking him for his contributions to the school, the students, and our community, and how perfect those words are for what you do. So thank you so much for all of that. And now we'll have Steve Jacobs come up to introduce our keynote speaker.
I think you'd all agree what a great year for women's basketball in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
You know, we have 4 Division I teams, UNI, Iowa State, Iowa, and Drake. Today it's Go Bulldogs!
Yeah.
It's my honor and privilege to introduce Allison Pullman, who is in her 3rd season as the head coach of Drake women's basketball and a member of the Drake staff for 17 seasons. Allison has been a critical part of Drake's women's basketball success. According to athletic director Brian Harden, throughout her career at Drake, Allison has a proven record of achievement and also possesses the perfect combination of vision, drive, and leadership to continue the ascent of our program. Her passion for the program, university, and student athletes is unrivaled. Becoming the Bulldog women's head basketball coach has been a dream come true for Allison. And what has she done? All she's done is win. Over her 3 seasons as head coach, she has compiled a 71% winning record.
Yeah.
In year 1, she led the team to the 3rd round of the NIT, so not a big deal. Year 2, they won the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament and received an NCAA berth. Pretty good. And last year, they won both the regular season Missouri Valley Conference Tournament and Tournament Championship and received an NCAA berth. In 2024, Allison was named MVC Coach of the Year, and the 2023-2024 season was the winningest season in Drake program history. Before joining Drake's staff, the Wellsburg, Iowa native spent 7 seasons on the staff at UNI and served as the Panthers associate head coach during the 06-07 campaign. She played for UNI from 1996 to 2000 and graduated as one of the top students in UNI history, along with being inducted into the UNI Athletics Hall of Fame in 2011. Allison and her husband have triplet daughters, age 17. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Dietetics and a Master's in Health Education from UNI. Please join me in welcoming Allison Pullman, the Susie Glazer Burke head women's basketball coach at Drake University, to the podium.
Well, wonderful. Once again, thank you so much for having me, and I want to personally thank Steve for going ahead and saying exactly when I graduated, as everybody out here is probably calculating exactly how old I am.
Didn't say how old
I know you didn't, but you gave them a really good insight as to exactly how old I am. And I also want to personally thank Susan. Susan was the one that reached out to me, and she picked the perfect time, middle of January, of when I am not sane whatsoever, and I said yes to this. So thank you for extending the invitation. Thank you for your persistence, and once again, I'm very overjoyed to be here. And it happens to be a very rainy Thursday, so hopefully we'll keep you like nice and awake and ready to go, dissimilar to obviously our live mascot there. So he's probably getting ready for lineups or whatever might be happening here. But I'd be remiss not to share, this is my good guy. And the best thing about having a dog is every day when, again, everyone's like, ooh, 17-year-olds, this puppy is always happy to see me when I get home. So that is why she gets the very early shout out. So thank you for allowing me to share that. Jennifer mentioned this, so really like a precursor to exactly what I'm going to talk about today. So pivot. When you think about pivot, obviously you think about basketball, but it could also be the potential of pivoting in life, pivoting in your job, pivoting in a day that you wake up and it's rainy and you've got a child who locked her keys in her car. Any normal things like that, where you just have to figure out what your mindset is on choosing how to pivot. So in these instances, whenever I go to listen to somebody talk, speak, whether it's a podcast or in any normal conversation, as a coach, you're constantly building your bag. You're trying to come up with different ways, whether it's to motivate, whether it's tactical, it's X's and O's, all kinds of different things. You're trying to figure out different ways. So I really hope you're enlightened today, not like, oh, the crazy Drake women's coach came to speak to us and she's full of energy, but I'm not really sure what she talked about. So I'm hopeful just to share a few different things that I've used as I've been blessed to be able to stay here at Drake and lead our women, obviously, at Drake University. Just overall excited to be here. So, does anybody watch Friends? Has anybody happened to see the episode where Ross is just yelling pivot when the couch is stuck? If not, go ahead, YouTube it. It is hilarious. So this might just give you kind of that insight again to go back and watch a number of Friends episodes. But this was our coaching staff when I told them the kind of the background of what I was hoping to talk about. This is what they told me. Great insight. Thank you, coaches. So pivot, defined. Okay, to adapt or improve by adjusting or modifying something, okay, to turn and rotate. So again, you talk about it tactically in the sport of basketball. But what I'm going to share with you, okay, is plan A and B. Usually in a basketball game, I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. You have a plan A and you have a plan B. You're drawing up a play. So here, visualize with me. It's the conference championship. You're playing Missouri State, and you're up 19, but you go ahead and let them come back. And then at the 8-second moment, they go ahead and go up 1. So you have 2.6 seconds and you go ahead and advance the ball. So in this instance, you've run all kinds of different things in practices. You've gone over different plays. You've done all of these things. So you know exactly what it is that you're going to do, okay? But the thing that you never talked about was plan C. So in plan C, here is after the timeout, Ava decided to pray for us in hopes that plan A or B worked. And then as it unfolded, the ball actually went to plan C, who, when drawing this up, this is Courtney Becker who's making the pass right now. She had just said in the timeout, she goes, oh, I love this one, I just run to the corner. I love this play, and she doesn't get the ball. But guess what happens? She gets the ball, 2.6 seconds. And then the best part about it is look at her face. Isn't that great? I mean, that is just, if you talk about confidence, my goodness, that is the face of confidence. And so, but then what you have more than anything here is you have a 6'3" Anna Miller to go ahead and work on a hook shot that she had added to her game this last summer. And guess what, guys? Conference champs. I mean, and she sits down, everybody runs over, collapses on top of her, and then we were lucky enough, obviously, to win the game. So, the P in pivot is plan A, B, don't forget about C, okay? Moving on to the I, okay? So in the weeds, this is what I look like every day, okay? So you might obviously associate with this, but you got a lot of different balls in the air. And being able to continue to try to get all of those lined up as you take on the next day. So this is a book suggestion. This is a book, it's not necessarily just about sport, but I love this. I read this book, I reread this book every single year by Rod Olson. And what it does is it goes through, he has a number of different lunches, and he's in the process of becoming really the CEO of the company. It's fantastic. But what it has done for me, and his suggestion is every night before you take on like a Friday, or this was the plan that I had, what he tells you to do is to go ahead and set your day. And so in the book, it talks about thoughts, useless thoughts. My phone calls is more so just recruiting wise. Set your schedule and then kind of having a personal thing. So you, as you set up probably your own journal or however you do things, this is something suggested in the book to be able to do different things. So I love it. So my priority today was to dominate my presentation. So you'll have to let me know afterwards if by chance that actually happens. The great thing about this too, I have a little bit of OCD, so I definitely love highlighting, checking everything that happens to get done. Then I'm able to continue to just do it and rock my day. Okay, VIP. Okay, so those very important people in your life. Okay, so I'm in a situation where I probably spend a lot more time at work than I necessarily do at home. Okay, but I am surrounded by some of the absolute best. We've attracted a phenomenal team of women. We've attracted a phenomenal team of coaches. And so as you continue to surround yourself by amazing people, get to the depth of knowledge of where you really can understand what it means and what makes each of them tick. So actually, the portion of my comments about working with people is ultimately, you really want it to feel like home. So this is our coaching staff after the conference championship, being able to celebrate together. There's a group of 8 of us. The redhead at the bottom, Becca Hittner, some of you may have heard her name, but we would love to keep her around forever. Phenomenal player, obviously very up and coming in our business, an amazing, amazing coach and just a brilliant mind. But all of these women, and obviously Chris, who is our strength and conditioning coach, you just got to make it feel like home. So what we did is we went ahead and went on vacation together because we don't spend enough time together. We ended up going to Montana. We did a fishing charter. None of us are that well versed in fishing by any stretch, but man, we had a good time. So just again, encouraging you to really stay invested. Okay, so these are my girls. Once again, 17-year-old daughters. And my favorite is in the back. See her? She's stretching. A little bit of a dog bomb in the back, of course. But just continuing, when I'm at home, trying to stay as present as humanly possible, of really engaging, and I'll get to this as my final point of the T of pivot is turn it off. But just really loving on each of them and continuing to embrace exactly who they are. Each and every one of our women student athletes, figuring out back to what I had commented about what makes them tick, how to push their buttons. And I know that clearly I can push these buttons really fast at an exponential rate actually. But clearly very, very blessed to have a wonderful family with continued support. So these are my VIPs. And then I couldn't help but put this in here. But the more I know people, the more I love my dog. Actually, she's just extremely, extremely excited to see me every single day. So to the O in pivot, okay, own it, okay? And so what does own it mean, okay? Back to dominate the presentation, back to exactly come on, stand on up here, and do something that's really out of my comfort zone. It's interesting, Steve had asked me how many of these I do. I prefer not to, in all honesty. This is what I love. Every single day, the grind of practice, every day stepping on a floor with extremely, extremely motivated, highly competitive women who really, really want to excel and continue just to be great. And they don't want to be great just to be great individually. What they want to do is be great because it is program over everything. That's one of the things we constantly talk about, is really what they are doing is really making Drake look really, really good, which I think is extremely, extremely special. Okay, so we talk about really opportunities in life. Back to, these are not my favorite moments, press conferences, anything like that. Really where I love it is being able to step on the floor with our team and obviously the women. But you got to step outside your comfort zone to grow a little bit, just little by little, continuing to do that. And we've said this as our coaching staff talks to our women about being very bold in exactly what it is that they want. You talk about opportunities. So on a basketball team, opportunities are loose balls. Like, are you diving on that ball? Like, are you diving on that ball? Are you figuring out a way to come up with it? I mean, you might have to take out some ankles, you might have to break a nose, I don't know, you might have to grab her arm, pull her down. However you do it though, you have to go after that opportunity. And I love the fact that Katie Dinnebier, so she's one of our superstars, she was player of the year actually, right straight from Waukee, Gatorade player of the year, sat in my office not too long ago, and I had asked her, she's a pharmacy student, I had asked her, okay, so what are, we've got next year, got a lot of big goals. She had talked to about how she could get better. That's all she wanted to do. And then she said, and then I have something to talk to you about. And I said, oh, really? And she said, how about I go ahead and then come back and I be your GA? And I was like, okay, I'll figure that out. I'd love to have you around. So being able to say those things, you've got to sit in those offices and be able to really go after what it is that you want. I think that is where growth happens. So I have this hanging in my office. I absolutely love this. And I love this for the women in our program. I love this for the women in this room, and men, sure, you too. But confidence isn't walking into a room thinking you're better than everyone. It's walking in not having to compare yourself to anyone at all. And I think that's extremely, extremely special. Okay, turn it off. Okay, I'm sure you probably know exactly where I'm going here. Okay, just have to put it away. In that time of just constant, refresh, what are my notifications? And I do this a lot of times once I'm able to go home, is you've just got to be able to turn it off. Whether that's, uniquely enough, Steve and I had a great conversation. He had asked what I like to do in my free time. And I said, I plan on getting a couple hobbies. My kids will be seniors next year, so maybe in about a year and a half, you can ask me what my hobbies happen to be, and then maybe I'll get some then. But one of the things I absolutely love, and as he prefaced, I'm a small town girl from the state of Iowa, and you never had 20 minutes to drive anywhere. If you drove 20 minutes, you had already gone to 3 other neighboring towns. Here in Des Moines, as I drive from Johnston really to Drake's campus, I take those 15 minutes and it is silence. And it is amazing, I think, in those reflection modes of just being able to turn it off, turn it out. You will be, you'll get a whole new to-do list, but you can also really begin to hone in on your self-conversation and your self-talk. And that's one of the things that I've had to work extremely, extremely hard on, is continuing to be my biggest fan, and just to, lace them up and keep going at it just a little bit harder. So I love this quote as well. So this is back to that self-talk and that self-image and really self-confidence. And really, if I'm in a position where I feel extremely, extremely blessed and really good about myself, then I'm able to go ahead and project that upon the phenomenal 14 women that are always in our locker room. And so if being loved, encouraged, and celebrated feels so darn good, and if it keeps you going and helps you achieve your goals, then why don't you do it for yourself? And so I think that's just a really, really phenomenal reminder of continuing to stay in the correct mind frame. So here it is in a nutshell. Pivot. Now you might think about it differently, or you might think of my dog. But we're gonna do it all again. So these, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support of Des Moines' hometown team. I feel very, very honored and blessed, obviously, to be at Drake. And here is my plug. Obviously, Zach has season tickets. I will hang around. I'm happy to get you all signed up. But we would love to see you at games. We would love to have you come out and support an amazing group of women who we hope will continue to impact the greater Des Moines area. It'd be amazing to continue to keep these high-level achievers around and doing phenomenal things right here in Des Moines. So with that being said, thank you again for your attention, and I would love to take any questions. Yes, in the back.
Can you talk about what NIL looks like for Drake's women's basketball program?
I sure can. So the question was, can I talk about the NIL collective and really the impact on women's basketball here at Drake? So we do have a collective. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding as far as really what that looks like. I think what's thrown out there across the country are just a lot of different numbers and different things where so-and-so was offered, you know, specific to men's basketball, AJ Store was offered $750,000 to go to Kansas. I think what's really fascinating in those instances, does that actually happen? Is that over a number of years? But with our collective dollars, yes, we have a collective established. Right now, we share the collective with men's basketball. It is all one large pool. And then a certain percentage of whether the dollar amounts at the end of the year are, say, 20% for women's basketball, 80% for men's basketball. So we have, I don't know if any of you enjoy Spike's Ale, so we have a beer. If you by chance partake in that, then in those instances, then that pool of money, those, whatever we earn from those different avenues of raising outside collective dollars, then women's basketball would receive 20%, men's basketball would receive 80%. So we do have a collective established. I do think, I think we should do better. I think our women are very, very deserving. If I'm gonna go on kind of a tirade right now, we have 4 returning seniors. We actually returned 9 players, which is very, very uncharacteristic. We had 10 that could return. We had 1 young lady enter the transfer portal, was very, very quickly swooped up because they understand the reputation of Drake women's basketball, but she's gonna go play Division II at Pitt State, where she will really be able to entertain a lot of playing time. But we returned 9 players, very, very uncharacteristic. The player of the year, the defensive player of the year, and a lot of those players are getting plucked off. It'd be really nice when we have 4 seniors. One's gonna be a cardiologist, one's gonna be a dentist, one's gonna be a pharmacist, and the last one's also gonna be a pharmacist. So those are what we are pushing out. But what we would utilize those collective dollars for are med school, dental school, and the last P3 and P4 years of pharmacy school. Yes?
Other than your family, obviously your dog and your players, where do you draw inspiration from?
Okay, great question. So outside of family, clearly players, you know, lucky good guy. Where do I draw inspiration? I'm a big reader. I love to read, and I also love having conversation. There's a young lady who graduated from Drake a number of years ago. Her name is Lindsay Wharton. She was a Rhodes Scholar. She works in Texas. She's the president of Holdsworth, which is public school education. Anyway, she and I and Jenny Baranchek and even like the Tanya Warrens, like a lot of mentors, you spend a lot of time following up, having conversation, and back to just continuing to be that open-minded, open book of just different ideas. And I love YouTube videos. I mean, I love, the San Antonio Spurs are like my inspiration, you know, back from like the 2000s, like Ginobili, like I watched hundreds of their games, it felt like, because their team was a team. So any given like moment, I'm able to find some different things. I feel like you can make it relative and pull different things out and just get overly excited, obviously, about how it relates to your given situation. Of course, yes.
Hi, Coach. From your perspective, how do you explain what happened to the world of women's basketball this year?
Yeah, so Dave's question was, how do I explain what happened in the worlds of women's basketball this year? Well, I think what you had is like a dynamo who shot logo threes and didn't just shoot them, she made them. But I think the product of, and Coach Bluter and really Jan Jensen, Jenny Fitzgerald, I mean, all of those women, you know, 2 of them, Jan was very prolific scorer and player here at Drake University. But I think what people really want is I think they want a phenomenal, fun, amazing story with character to be able to get behind. And I think that's what you were able to see. I think you watched Caitlin Clark seek out her dad, you know, for him to tell her to like, shore it up, young lady. And I think that that goes to what we are really as Iowans. And I think, you know, secretly, we've got something special here where then, you know, now she's going and selling out every single Big Ten arena because you want to see this unicorn. I mean, who doesn't want to see a unicorn? And so that's what I think she was able to do, just to add to the allure. And I think we've only begun to like shave off the layers of that, because being very, very biased, and again, buy your season tickets, but I think we've got a really, really special thing cooking at Drake, especially in women's basketball as well.
If I could follow up, I talked to a lot of people who like hadn't been watching women's basketball and say they now enjoy the game way more than the men's game. Why do you think that is?
Okay, question was, why do I think that people enjoy the women's game a little bit more than the men's game? With trying to stay, not necessarily to say there's nothing wrong with men's basketball and it's not where everything's right with women's basketball. What I do feel, I feel like our game is a little bit more fun because we have quarters and you're able to advance the ball. I do think that I love that. I love that because it gives every single team a chance to be able to, you know, especially in late game situations, thank goodness, 2.6 seconds sort of situation that we were able to do that. But what I do think is, I think back to my comment about the San Antonio Spurs, like you get to see teams. It's not take a timeout and then run a high on-ball screen and watch some guy like shickety shake and figure out a way to go ahead and get to the basket. It's not always just that one-on-one sort of style. I think a purist gets to watch teams pick people apart. And I can tell you, when people are watching the University of Iowa, who's #1 in the country in assists per game, and Drake University, who's #3 in assists per game, I think it's a fun style to be able to watch. And that's where I would say, that's what I would lean into as to why the women's game has become a little bit more popular. Yes?
What about diversity? I didn't see it.
Sure. So diversity on our team. We actually, we do have diversity on our team. The young lady, unfortunately, sustained a season-ending injury that we have. As far as, does our team all look the same? Yes. From socioeconomic standpoint, we are very, very diverse. From whether just different areas where people are from, different backgrounds that they come from. But I do think it's unique because we do receive this question at Drake a lot as far as the amount of diversity that's on the women's basketball team. It is not without trying. It is not without trying, but I think one of the biggest things as far as from a standard standpoint, and this goes to whether from a basketball standpoint, we do not lower our standards to make someone fit a puzzle, because then what's gonna happen is they're gonna end up watching the game instead of being a contributor in the game. So all of those things I think have to be a match for us to continue to attract young women to our program. But again, it is not because of any other reason than that we have very high expectations and high standards. Yes?
When you're out recruiting and you're talking to maybe a sophomore or junior in high school,
Yeah.
how did you learn to look, to visualize what a student might bring 5 years or 6 years later? How do you learn that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is pretty much how do you identify and then work player development with each of the women that we are recruiting to Drake University. And I think you gotta have a very keen eye. I think we have, back to the previous question, I think we have very high standards, and I think that there's a certain we've been able to, and I've been at Drake for a really long time, we've been really able to hone in on exactly what does come here and fit. But I think to your point, yes, we can identify those, but I think what you've gotta really begin to identify, and I think this is the best part for our coaching staff, is they gotta have dog. They gotta have a little bit of dog in them. And with our background checks, with our character checks, with all of the things that you're doing, we're not just talking to an AAU coach and a coach. I mean, I'm talking to guidance counselors, I'm talking to their English teachers, I'm talking to people in the community. I'm watching how they're treating their parents on the sidelines when we go to AAU tournaments or when they happen to be walking in the hallway. Because I think you've gotta know what you're getting. But back to really, one of the biggest things I love about, as you saw, the coaching piece it is one of the, I guess, the biggest, I don't know, put down, if someone were to come to our program and not get better. If you didn't watch each and every year our players add something to their game or get better, that is on our coaching staff. That is not, hey, go get in the gym, we got you here, now you go ahead and figure out how to work. Nope, we're on the trenches. We gotta figure out how to make them better each and every year, and I think it's been so much fun as you've watched, you watch Katie Dennebeer, who was player of the year this year, go from her, she started every game that she's been in a Bulldog uniform, but you watched her from her first year do what she needed to do to be able to kind of facilitate the team. She averaged like 9 points a game, to then this last year prior to when we won the conference tournament and went to play Louisville and came up just a little bit short, where she averaged almost 12 points a game. She's got a lot really high aspirations, and this year we needed her to score a little bit more. She figured it out, scored 19 points a game, was third in the country in assists per game, and back to, she just got some dog in her. I mean, it's really special. She's a fun one to watch. Yes?
What does it look like to be a player for your team for the 12 months? Obviously, we see them when they're on
Oh,
the
sure.
court, but like off season, how much touch time do you have in August?
Absolutely. Okay, so the question is, how much touch time do we have like with our team? What does the course of a year look like? Okay, so just where we are now, and then I'll try and cycle through. So we are in postseason. We actually have our last workout tomorrow. We had 3 weeks of postseason. Then our team, for the most part, in May, are free birds. They love it. They do have finals and finishing up school and all of that sort of stuff. But then we will come back for 8 weeks in the summer session to be able to work out, to work camps. If you have kids, grandkids, anybody, you can come over to Drake Women's Basketball. We have Bulldog camps, which would be great. But for 8 weeks they come, and that's when we implement our offense and our defense. So that's when we have our full team together for 8 weeks to be able to really begin, like the epic thing of building team chemistry, of being around one another and developing the love for each of us. Then in August, a lot of downtime. August is also every 4 years, the NCAA allows you to go on a foreign trip. This is not that year for us, but usually in August is when we would do that. And then right after Labor Day, we kick things up in September. And we don't do a ton on weekends, September and October, but man, we're cooking late October, headed into really the season. It's not much for downtime, but for the most part, our women have downtime in both May and August. Yes, Patty?
I know that sort of nationally and over time, there's been criticism of college sports, especially I think male sports, in that they're taking athletes in, using their athletic ability, but not concentrating on the academic very much. But obviously, with what you've got some of your players doing, they seem to have been excelling academically as well as sports-wise. How do you balance that? How do you ensure that that happens so that they do end their, say, college career with options?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so pretty much what Patty's talking about is kind of the academic rigors. How do you figure out, I don't know, more so that balance of being both the student and the athlete. I think I'm in a very, very luxurious place to be able to say it is what we attract at Drake. And I can tell you it is not all that glamorous, because in December our team turns green, like literally green around finals time. So we have to adjust exactly what games we're playing during those times because the academic rigors. I think it all goes to whether it's transactional or transitional, or where you want to bring in people where you're setting them up for life, not necessarily setting them up for, which would be fantastic, the NBA or the WNBA draft. Because still beyond that, there's still a way to continue to give back to your community, and we should all have that base level of education. At Drake, we don't really dabble in that. I think we're very, very lucky, because I do think being a student athlete is definitely a privilege. Yes?
I read a lot about the popularity of women's volleyball, and sometimes the competition between the two sports. So I always wanted to ask a women's coach, if you're a star women volleyball player, could you be a star women basketball player, or are they just completely different skill sets.
Sure. So the question is kind of the comparison between a volleyball athlete and then really a women's basketball player. You know, they grow them tall in volleyball. Honestly, there have been so many instances where I wish that they had an orange ball in their hands. I do think that there is an athleticism, definitely, along with volleyball, like timing and figuring out just a lot of those idiosyncrasies that go into, you know, being an athlete from a volleyball standpoint. I've seen a lot that have crossed over, but I do think a lot of times volleyball and basketball players, and so much of really what our youth are going through right now, is they're having to choose what sport they're playing, honestly what feels like by the time they're 8, because it's really difficult to be able to manage all of these club schedules and AAU schedules and all of those things. I wish we had a lot more multi-sport people. But as far as the differences, I think, you know, the athleticism is definitely there in both sports. I think the hand-eye coordination is definitely there in both sports. I think what you have in volleyball is really a lack of physicality. In basketball, you gotta have a lot of physicality. We've got a couple linebackers on our team. But as far as that sort of goes, I would say those are the major differences that I would see. Yes?
What professional skill or trait was most elusive for you, and how did you go about getting that skill? What's the process for that?
What professional skill or trait, like pretty much did I have to develop?
Yeah, what was something you struggled with that you didn't possess? What was the process to get it?
Yeah, what I struggled with. Well, 3 years ago, moving what everybody calls 8 inches to your left, it felt like 8,964 miles. So I think the professional trait of ultimately understanding the art of decision making and the art of really, there's certain things that you need to weigh out and to sleep on or think about. And then there's also those situations where what color do I want the gray squad's shorts to be, and those situations can just be giving those sort of job responsibilities to people to be able to execute. So I would say 2 things. 1, decision making, and 2, really showing and trusting and believing the people that you work side by side with, and really putting in them that trust that they know they can go ahead and make those decisions, and do so with their own, I guess, set of standards. Yeah.
What's your favorite shot?
What's my favorite shot?
Yeah.
Threes. Well, and also Anna Miller hook shots, clearly. Yeah, yes, definitely. Anyone else? Yes.
What's the current competition between a high school team and a club team?
Oh, great question. What's the current competition between a high school team and a club team? I think it depends upon the high school. If you're gonna go back to AGWSR where I grew up and have them play Johnston High School, it's not even gonna be close, or it's not gonna, or to go play all Iowa Attack, you're gonna have, it's gonna be a very, very large difference. If you were to take, and I only reference Johnston just because that's the school district that we're in, and they also won a state championship this year on the girls' side. But if you were to take the Johnston team from a high school standpoint and play them against, the top team, AAU team in the state of Iowa, and I will say that I'm very, very proud to say this because a number of the people on our team played for All Iowa Attack. That program is really, really good. So I would actually say that the club team, especially if you're talking about the top team, I do feel like they could definitely excel and beat high school teams. Now, I also think that we have a lot of phenomenal coaches from a high school standpoint in our state. I think they do a great job. I think they understand the women on their teams maybe just a little bit more, and they're working with them the entire year. But there's a lot of firepower in some of these AAU teams. And back to, they're just able to go ahead and make moves and to expose people at a whole nother level. The talent in our state is really fantastic. Feeling great? You were very welcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison, for a great presentation, a lot of fun, and also messages that we can use ourselves. So yes, check. dominating presentation achieved. As a token of our appreciation, we're donating a book in your honor to the Des Moines Public Libraries. It will be a part of the Rotary Rosie Reader Van traveling around the community in honor of you, so thank you again. And now, Allison and I will pivot to upcoming meetings today. They paid attention.
Yeah.
So upcoming meetings today, we had a great day for guests in. Let's do this again. So be thinking about guests that could come to one of these meetings that might interest them. First, we have Joe Murphy with the Iowa Business Council. Next, Mayor Connie Wilson. And lastly, Christy Vilsack will speak about the USS Iowa. So just be sure, as a reminder, to get the guests to Kitty by 9 a.m. on Wednesday so we can book them in here. So thank you all for coming today. Special thanks